So the next discussion is on cyber protection, keeping individuals and small businesses digitally safe and secure. So may I call upon stage, our first panelist, Mr. Nalin Bansal, Chief of Fintechs, Corporates and New Initiatives, National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI. Presently, he is serving as the Chief of Corporate Business and Key Initiatives at NPCI. Under his leadership, NPCI was able to swiftly launch the prestigious Bharat Bill Payment System, platform for Reserve Bank of India, National Common Mobility Card for transit operators and smart cities, and rolled out solutions in the area of contactless payments, secure online commerce, and tokenization. Welcome on the panel, Mr. Nalin. Thank you. Our next panelist is Mr. Mayank Joshi, who's the Regional Manager, Digital Business at Munich Re. He heads the digital business for Munich Re's non-life RI business in India, Southeast Asia, Korea, and Japan, where he leads efforts in developing products and solutions for digital players. He's also responsible for building key partnerships for Munich Re in the digital ecosystem and engage with Insurtechs to create value propositions. Welcome on the panel, Mayank. Our next panelist I would like to invite is Harini Kannan. She's the head of product innovation and development, head liability and casualty and specialty underwriting at HDFC Ergo. She's a seasoned insurance professional with extensive experience in reinsurance, product innovation, underwriting, and claims management within the industry. Prior to HDFC, she worked with Swiss Re India and Swiss Re Singapore for over 16 years, specializing in PNC, reinsurance underwriting, capital management solutions, retail insurance products, strategy, and key account management. Welcome on the panel, Harini. Our next panelist I would like to invite is Mr. Harish Kumar Singla, who is the SVP, Principal Officer and Business Head, Sales and Distribution, Life Insurance and Banker Business and Insurtech Initiatives at HDFC Bank. So Mr. Harish is a seasoned leader with over 25 years of experience spanning retail banking, strategic bank assurance, operations, and digital marketing. And his roles include those with giants like ICICI and HDFC banks, where he excelled in driving life and general insurance business, setting up distribution networks, and achieving market growth. Welcome on the panel, Mr. Harish. Our next speaker is Mr. Amreesh Kher, who's the Chief Business Officer Insurance at Tata Digital. He has over 2.5 decades of versatile experience spanning across leading banks, insurers, Insurtech, and currently with consumer tech, Tata Digital, leading the insurance business. He has been instrumental in building up businesses from 0 to 1 to 100 and has worked with leading organizations like Citibank, RBL Bank, Bajaj Allianz Life, Aviva, IndusInd Bank, and the last was with Turtlemint. Welcome on the panel. And to moderate this event, I would like to invite Mr. Milan Naik, who's the president at Box AME and the global affinity leader. He brings on the table 20 years of being in the corporate world across consulting, insurance, and founded Goals 101, his first entrepreneurial venture, which recently got acquired by M2 Fintech. Prior to Goals 101, he worked with leading global insurance companies responsible to set up and build businesses in India, across Asia and Middle East. Deeply passionate about Insurtech and embedded insurance, and is actively involved globally in unlocking its potential. Milan, the panel is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilanjan. Thanks a lot for the introduction. Really appreciate it. Thanks, panelists, for being here. Really appreciate it. I think we've got a very interesting session coming up. Cyber, as you know, is touching our lives in everything that we do, personal, professional, at home, wherever we go. So it's an interesting subject, very, very topical. And hopefully through this conversation, all of you gain something. And I think we couldn't have had a better panel than this, which is a great combination of people who are, responsible for bringing in capacities, bringing in that whole protection layer, to insurers who can do that locally, to distributors, and bringing also a very diverse view to cyber on the payment side of it. So we'll try to make the session as interactive as possible as well. Before I sort of start getting into formal questions, let me introduce Box. We started our journey, humble journey, about 2018 in Toronto, with the vision to sort of make the digital world safe and secure. Our thesis is to provide digital protection, resilience to individuals, people like you and I, our children, our parents, homes, and small businesses. We believe the enterprise world has a lot of people solving and doing some great work in that space. So this is a great space to focus on. So we are a very focused global Insurtech, just in looking at individuals, homes, and small businesses. Today we have a global presence. We are operating in about 8 markets. Closer to this part of the world, we have offices in DIFC in Dubai, in Mumbai, and as well as in Singapore. So yeah, in the US and Canada, for example, we are MGAs. So we operate as an insurer in US and Canada. We are Lloyd's cover holders, so we in a way get sort of capacities from them. We do have global reinsurance partnerships as well. Our distribution model is a bit unique. We believe we want to work with players who already have a large consumer base, operating at scale, whether it's insurers, telcos, affinities, and create solutions that are far more thematic and relevant and embedded and offered part of their core products. We've made some fairly good progress, especially in this part of the world, India. Today, as we speak, we've got about 12 contracts. We've done about close to 400,000 policies or protection consumers we've protected. So we've come a long way. Clearly, we believe that the tailwinds are strong. The need for cyber protection and resilience is increasingly growing. And hopefully through this session, we will be able to sort of, in a way, add some more dimensions to how people at large over here are seeing cyber protection and resilience. So before we sort of just get into it, we have a short video that we wanted to play that kind of introduces Box. So if you can just kind of play that for a bit. Technology. Thank you. Hope that woke up some of you, the people at least. Thank you very much, guys, for playing that video. Okay, so getting into the session, I'm going to sort of throw a question to the audience, to all the panelists. India, as you know, is actually sort of leading the entire digital revolution. Whether it's talk about consumption, you talk about payments, you talk about any of those, please, the adoption levels are far greater. How do you, each of you, see digital threats and vulnerabilities to consumers if you think about individual homes and small businesses? So just a quick bite from each of you, that'll be a great way to kind of get the conversation started.
I think digital happened faster than we expected, at least in this country. and I'm speaking in context to payments. All of you would have used UPI and other things in your daily life. I think as consumers are moving, increasing to digital, starting with their, spending patterns, their payments, now health, education, everything else, um, I think they're realizing, I think the realization is lesser from the fact that they're creating a digital identity, which is probably now going to be more important than their own individual physical identity. And that realization and awareness, I think, is the biggest challenge. The speed at which this is coming up, the realization and awareness is not running at that speed. And to me, that's the biggest, most problem statement as to how are we ensuring that people are well aware of what they're creating digitally. For them, everything is a game. Whether they open up a app, they download an app, do something. For them, it's playing around. But what they don't realize that playing around can really impact a lot of what they do otherwise seriously. So that's why.
So I'll take a bite on that. While the overall adoption, the digital footprint, and the way we interact in our daily lives have massively increased to more of a digital mode, you see that the risk itself is also expanding exponentially. Like I would say that 2 to 3 years back or 4 years back, pre-COVID levels versus post-COVID levels, we have seen immense number of targeted hacks being targeted towards India. I think India is ranked number third in terms of number of cyber attacks being directed towards. And if you talk about individuals, there is an unofficial statistics that close to 5,000 cyber frauds take place on a daily basis in India. But these are underreported. And if you see the official figures, we'll be talking about somewhere close to a lakh cyber fraud events which are being reported from individuals. So individually, given that the number of exposures that we have, plus on the business side, wherein we see that all our systems are online, we are adopting the digital adoption on the businesses are quite high. Again, the vulnerability is just increasing, and I think the prevention and the protection is still lagging behind in terms of picking up the same pace of adoption.
Well, just pick on what you said, Mayank. So we might be also the third largest internet adopters worldwide, also the third in terms of cyber attacks on the country. So I think the digital or the cyber threat landscape is a little, has to be deeper understood. It's not just about, say, digital theft of funds through phishing and you losing money, but it's a little beyond that. I mean, this is the era of influencers. There's so many of us on Instagram, Facebook, running a community or a living by influencing people. There's a lot of business interruption and income laws involved. But think about the importance it might have on families and homes where children are much more exposed to internet than ever before. Cyber bullying, sort of threats and its impact on mental well-being is another topic as well. And as you said, SMEs or MSMEs in the country are adopting the digital initiative in the country. More and more companies are relying on cloud infrastructure to run their business. They are also, in a business where the supply chain and the value chain is tightly integrated. So there's a lot of, risk that trickles down across businesses, our homes, and us as individuals. I'm just taking a leaf out of the earlier session. We spoke a lot on health. Your physical health is critical, but I think this is also an era where your digital health is as critical as your physical health. So yeah, clearly the cyber risk landscape is evolving, and it just needs to be deeply understood. It's beyond pure digital theft of funds or a phishing attack.
Hi. I would say that this cyber attacks, this is like a one format of our attack which has started coming, and it's not new. Wherever you will put your identity, wherever you will, once you expose your money to someone, obviously you have a risk. If you simply close door and you are not exposing yourself, you are not exposing your money to outsiders, there is no risk. So if you are going out, you are exposing your money, you are exposing your identity, you need a gear. I simply see that when you are trekking, you need a trekking gear. When you are walking, you need that kind of a gear. If you are climbing or you are doing something monitoring, you need that kind of gear. So cyber insurance is kind of a gear which you need to have whenever you are exposing yourself, whether your identity, your money, or anything which you are exposing to the world digitally.
A little difficult to come after all the eminent panelists, but I think you picked up on the digital revolution, Milan. I would only want to call it that, pretty much with every boon comes a bane. And that's what we've seen in industrial revolution earlier in the past as well. So digital revolution is here to stay. And we are, of course, one of the market leaders of the country, evolving, growing on digital front every day. And that's certainly helping individuals grow individually, professionally, personally, as well as businesses. I think the cyber risk is something that we will have to now start more be accepting of. I think for a long time, a lot of us, at least individuals, if businesses, large businesses accepted the first, now the SMEs are accepting it. The individuals have to start accepting, first move from that stage of denial to acceptance and then act upon it. And clearly, I think the ecosystem also has to step up in terms of giving that comfort to consumers to say that, there are ways to prevent, there are ways to respond, there are ways to protect, and that has to come in together to inspire the consumer confidence, both on the SME side as well as the individual side. So I think clearly a lot more has to be done as an industry together to kind of build that confidence.
Yeah. No, well said. I think, some interesting themes. Nalin talked about identity. Mayank sort of mentioned about, almost India becoming the cybercrime capital of the world. I mean, of course, we operate at such significant scales. It's obvious, it's a given. To talk about, how fungibility digital is, and it touching our life, like I mentioned, in multiple ways. This whole thing about physical life, digital health, physical health. I think that we're living two lives, right? So the need for creating that and protecting each of these like a standard, maybe a gear, right, that you need to have. So the need for this is increasingly growing, and you're right. I mean, with every boon comes a bane. But this is clearly, I think, it's a catch-up. The boon has gone so ahead of us that we need to kind of catch up and make sure we can do and play our part. Nalin, there's a question mainly focused on you, given your experience. And I think, NPCI is leading the digital payments revolution, for a better word, but even the rails for payments, not only in India, but even globally, multiple markets. I mean, you guys are really taking India to the world in many ways, right? How do you see the building blocks that are required to, in a way, make the digital payments landscape a bit more resilient, safe, secure, and I'll pick the word that Amreesh mentioned, confident?
I think we spoke about in my perspective, the first problem statement was awareness and how you create awareness from a consumer point of view. And I think mutual fund industry does a good job of it. Every single ad they do, they will say, take care of the risk before you do that. In payments and maybe other businesses, I don't know, as organizations, are we forthcoming enough to let our consumers know what's the risk if doing so? I don't think we do that. Maybe we need to do that slightly better. Coming back and connecting to your question, that's our responsibility to consumers. But in terms of our B2B partnerships, where we are tying up with people, and, maybe organizations, creating fintech partnerships, bank partnerships, international partnerships, I think it's a complex game. Eventually, it boils down to trust. Who do you trust? How do you evaluate those organizations? There has to be some guiding principles to who do you connect with. You are as safe and secure as safe and secure your partners are, right? Eventually, most of the cases that we come across, in at least payment frauds and others, are not the entity, but the service provider of their entity, or maybe an outsourced entity that they would have onboarded. And therefore, it becomes even more important as to what are your mechanisms to, maybe, for a lack of a better word, again, audit, review, do your due diligence. So we've now ended up doing due diligence beyond just technology. We've gone beyond saying who are the owners, where is the funding coming from, what's the history, the background, the management team. This goes both for our partnerships within the country and even partnerships outside the country. And like I said, it's an evolving framework. We always keep learning. You will end up maybe landing into some wrong zone at some point in time. But I think there is no standard around it of how do you build trusted partnerships and create a framework of evaluation. It's every organization for their own.
Yeah, I think, education awareness probably starting from there and then kind of build from there on as the basics. My question for you, in this case, Munich Re is one of the largest reinsurer in the world, and you do provide the core infrastructure to do cyber, one of the leaders in that space as well. Can you throw some light about, what Munich Re is doing globally, and how do you see and what actions taken in the Indian market and the progress you've made as far as cyber is concerned?
Sure. So from the whole cyber insurance space, I would say that Munich Re would be the most interested party or most concerned party when it comes to the cyber risk and how we deal with that. The market is close to around $16 billion and we do close to around $2 billion. So by far, in terms of market share plus the exposure that we write, we are the largest when it comes to cyber risks. In fact, when the CrowdStrike incident happened, before solving the incident for ourselves, we were trying to figure out what would be the overall exposure for us and how much are we going to lose in this incident. So when I talk about the scale of the business, the US market and the other markets, like put together globally, if we are talking about 16 billion, this number in 2019 was close to around 5 billion. So this has grown 3 times in the 5 years. And we expect this number to double now, close to around $30 billion in the next 4 years. But when we talk about the same numbers in India, numbers are not so encouraging. I think we are still talking about 20 to 25% growth rates in the Indian market, where we feel the scope for a growth is really high. The penetration in the market, the adoption of these insurance products are relatively on a lower side, and hence, we see a very timid growth, compared to other markets that we operate in. Now, coming to the overall, why the Indian adoption is overall low and what is so different in the other markets. I think the insurance awareness definitely goes without saying, but on the, overall process in terms of how you get onboarded as an individual or an entity towards the whole cyber is more from the gate of prevention, and the cyber insurance then comes later at the later stage. So first you want to prevent yourself that the incidents doesn't happen. And I think one of the slides that you showcased before the panel discussion, 60% of the SMEs would not be in a position to pay for if there is any cyber incidents or a hack happened. And when I talk about the cyber SME, like the SME adoption of cyber business in India, it's, if we end up selling 1,000 policies, let's say, for cyber insurance in India to the commercial players, only around 15 to 20 policies will be bought by SMEs. It is largely being bought by the commercial houses, and only those SMEs will buy, whereas there is a mandatory requirement that they may be servicing a US client, or they may, the VC investors would have asked them to buy this kind of a protection. So this is something which we feel that, some Indian market put together, we have to solve this, as a challenge and a problem statement, and promote more of the preventive measures. Munich Re feels, at our end that, the risks are really going to an extent that there may not be enough capacity available in the future to cover those risks. So there will be majority of the risk will go underinsured or uninsured. And the hope is that the prevention comes much earlier than we arrive at that situation.
Yeah. I think, very interesting point you mentioned about education awareness. And Harini, the question to you probably in this case is that, in a market where, we were speaking to one of the reinsurers globally about, where do they see cyber insurance, cyber protection 3 years, 5 years from here? And the statement they made was, it's going to be almost as large as health. It's almost like an imperative. You need to have coverage of cyber in some shape or form. And that's interesting. So in that light, to make it more inclusive, Harini, how do you see product innovation, design? That's a large remit that you sort of play at Ergo. How do you see that kind of becoming a big part in driving adoption?
Yeah, I think cyber insurance is largely in 2 buckets. One is for individual cyber insurance, which individuals like us take for retail usage. Second one is obviously commercial cyber insurance. So the use case is a bit different. HDFC Ergo is one of the leading capacity providers for both retail and commercial cyber. In fact, retail cyber insurance, the way we have developed the product is meant to be personalized. It is modular in nature. And cyber, in our opinion, when it comes to personal cyber, has to be embedded in use cases that we as individuals do in terms of transaction and the way we lead our digital life. So that has been our approach in terms of how we take cyber to individuals and also SME. So while I reckon with Mayank that a significant population of cyber insurance which is sold commercially is taken by large corporates. I mean, HDFC Ergo has made a conscious effort to sort of push and sell and bring in value proposition in commercial cyber insurance for SMEs. So our portfolio on commercial cyber is almost 25 to 30% is with SMEs. And I think, see, the landscape for SMEs are also changing. Apart from contractual obligations, the Digital Data Protection Act that came in last year also plays a lot of onus on businesses to be able to do the right thing in terms of consumer data protection. They have a penalty up to 250 crores if they don't have the right metrics in terms of cyber, I would say, linkages with which they operate a business. So all these ecosystems obviously help drive awareness. But when it comes to product, to answer the question that you asked, I think digital transactions, theft of funds, protecting your identity theft, a lot of us shop online to be able to protect transactions when you shop online. Cyberbullying, third-party liability when you have someone suing you for some content that you put up on the internet, covers for influencers. I think we believe cyber insurance needs to be modular and hyper-personalized, and that is the only way this can appeal to individuals. And for us, I think digital health is as critical as physical health. So I think our philosophy is cyber insurance should also be a part of health insurance. Cyber insurance as a cover should be a part of travel insurance. It should be embedded in your home insurance cover. So I think it's sort of a part of every insurance risk landscape that you operate in. So I think that is the philosophy with which we look at cyber insurance at HDFC Ergo.
Oh, excellent. I mean, that sounded like music to my ears, for sure. Harish, they say insurance yahan bikta hai, khareedta koi nahi hai. As a largest distributor of insurance in the country, let me hazard that guess of saying that one of the largest, how do you see insurance to become a lot more, and you're also a custodian of consumer wealth and money, right? How do you see insurance to become play a big part? And because you also run the remit of Insurtech for the bank. So how are you thinking about this as a banker?
See, I'll go with the same theme which I answered earlier, that it's a gear which you are taking to cover the risk if you are exposed you are exposing your money, you are exposing yourself, your entity, your reputation digitally. To cover that, you need a gear, and cyber insurance is needed. And our friends have also said that the product is needed, and this is very much required. Now, this is truth. And everybody knows that. Everybody, and in every household, somebody or else, have become the victim of these kind of attacks. Now, if we ask 10 guys outside this building on the road that, my friend, do you know that what is cyber? I think out of 10, either 10 or 9, nobody will be able to give you the meaning of cyber. And as a distributor, so when I say that, okay, we are a distribution house, and as HDFC Bank, we give a lot of insurance. So for me, as a distributor, I would say that it should be understandable to the customer. If I am exposed, I'm doing a digital transaction. For me, it should be payment insurance, but that is a cyber insurance. If I do a lot of social activity, I should get a social activity insurance, which is actually a cyber insurance. If my reputation is at a risk, I'm a celebrity. For me, it's a reputation insurance if I'm putting myself in digitally. So it goes directly in the mind of the person that, yes, this is for me. So first is the identity of the product, which is very much needed. Second comes is that how we want to distribute this product. whether we want to give a product on the go when a product customer is coming to buy some other product as a digital journey of some other product, or we are giving a product to the customer as a cover for his whole family, for the business, that kind of thing is a standalone product. The pricing and the distribution strategy and the journey, all three are totally different. And because till the time we will not go in that nitty-gritties, we shall not be able to get too many customers. This is needed. Everybody understands that this is needed. How we promote this product, that matters. How we place that product, who will be selling, who will be giving that product, that matters. Otherwise, we won't be able to do that. If we'll keep saying it's a cyber insurance, the other person doesn't understand. Cyber में उसको एक cyberवाद नजर आता है. That's a long time Mr. Chandrababu Naidu made it. But otherwise, he doesn't understand what is the cyber insurance.
Oh, excellent, well said. And again, give us the fact that you operate in such diverse environments and so many products you have. Your ability to then create the product and create a consumer narrative and a story which is aligned to the core product, whether it's payments, devices, or whatever it is. I think that's a great philosophy, Harish. Amreesh, I think you are part of one of the most progressive and large-scale consumer tech venture, which has very diverse businesses. And I want to introduce the concept of embedded insurance. I mean, Harini did mention about it, that embedding is important from a personal standpoint. How do you see the value of embedded insurance, especially in the context of cyber, when you think about more consumer tech plays?
Thanks, Milan. I think fairly close to my heart as well as our organization, because we've taken a lead with some of the partners on this panel, in fact. So I would like to thank our reinsurers, frankly, and our insurance partners who actually introduced us to the concept of cyber insurance. And clearly we believe that, so I spoke just now a while back and everybody's agreeing to it, that we all understand cyber risk is here to stay. And having gone through a little bit of a personal cyber crime, I realized that what is missing in the whole process. I mean, so I think we all acknowledge that there's education which needs to be done, there's awareness which needs to be done. But I think one of the biggest things that we need to articulate is what we are preventing, right? And so we took a stab at it and said, we will probably box it into a simple thing, which is digital theft of funds. So while there are multiple elements, and as Harini was mentioning that there are modular elements, but we said what is simplest to understand is digital theft of funds, and that's what we just went ahead with. The second element which comes across, especially with some of these sachet or embedded products, as we call them, Milan, clearly is the, I would say, the non-believability of claims process and the inconvenience as what is perceived. I'm not saying it's inconvenient, but it is perceived as being inconvenient for consumers. That's the other element that we worked upon. So we kind of actually created a very, I would say, consumer centric, empathetic approach towards even the claims management process. And that's why I kind of thanked our reinsurers and insurers to partner with us to say that we will have a very seamless onboarding journey, which is, of course, the core of any embedded contextual product. But more importantly, a product which can actually be very easily claimed as well. So I was actually doing some check on our numbers. So as we would have thought that, if you start selling 1,000, we would have crazy claims. It's not been the case. It's just that we would still want to get to millions, and insurance is a business of pooling risk. I mean, creating scale. And I think clearly at our platform, given the phygital mode that we have and the whole digital first consumers coming in, of course, the opportunity on creating contextual products on, be it on payments, be it on devices, embedding it on various transactions. I think the opportunity is limitless, and not just for us, but for the entire fraternity around the BFSI with so many transactions happening. I think collectively everybody has to just build that consumer confidence. Again, I kind of reiterate on giving directly what's the kind of protection as well as the comfort on claims management which is to be done.
Amreesh, I think you touched upon a very interesting topic. I mean, when we talk to even insurers, they've said that cyber standalone, first and foremost, to Harish's point, people like at the consumer end don't understand what cyber really means, right? And we talk to them that, you've got this beautiful product created, the whole sort of modular stack on the insurance side. How many have you sold? Most of them have the same story saying no one's buying that cyber, right? So I think creating this thing around, one is, of course, the whole education awareness, creating the relevance of the category, but also, in a way, building products that are a lot more thematic, relevant, and core to the I mean, basically aligned to the core product that's been distributed. I mean, to points that we made over here, whether it's payments, devices, et cetera, we believe that whole embedded route could be a great way to scalability. And like the reinsurer mentioned, I mean, this is almost like health. That's going to be very imperative for every consumer. So I think what seems to be a common consensus that cyber is here to stay. I think the boons are a given, but the banes are also going to come along with it. And there are players over here who are clearly gearing up to kind of make them more digitally resilient, confident as well. Before I sort of go on to my next question, I just thought if you pick on the theme of education awareness, let me throw some questions to the audience. And let's see if there's a show of hand if anyone gets this. We're talking in the context of cyber crimes or cyber as such. What does the number 1930 mean to you? Okay, the gentleman there. Excellent. Superb. Applause for him. Only one hand went up, but that's the national cybercrime number. The interesting statistics around that, they received 1.1 million calls, and the total aggregated number of losses estimated, the monetary losses, is 7,500 crores. This is reported. And we believe only 5% get reported. So there'll be a lot of other people who face this on a day-to-day basis but do not report it. Interesting trivia question, but one more just to get you excited. Tell me, which part of the country has the highest density of telecom towers? And I'm looking at specifics. So highest density of telecom towers in the country. I gave it to you. Yeah, go for it. Huh? I mean, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore would be the obvious ones. But let me say it out, okay? Jamtara in Jharkhand. I'm not kidding. Most of the towers are actually being sponsored by the perpetrators to ensure that they are seamlessly connected at any given point in time. This is from the DGP of cybercrime, stating this as data point, which to me fascinates how integral part of our society is cybercrime, right? So very interesting facts. I'll probably move on to my last question. I see there's only 1 minute left, but I think before we sort of sign off, any themes that kind of emerge to you saying, where do you see cyber insurance, cyber protection 3 years from here? So if there is a broad brush, quick data point that each of you can kind of talk about.
I think it needs to come into more productization in terms of how it is positioned to the market. I can't put it in a particular broad brush name, but today it is sold like any other insurance. I think it should get into a productization zone. I just want to give an example. I was thinking about it while others were speaking. I have gone through the age of buying antivirus softwares in late 90s and early 2000s. I don't think I've bought it now in the last 5 years because we are safe in our mindset that our data is secure over cloud. So who needs laptop insurance anymore or antivirus insurance? And I think consumers over the phone also are feeling that way. So my point being that as organizations, product organizations or consumer organizations are getting more digital and productized, they are going to keep re-innovating to ensure that consumers are feeling safer and secure as they move digital. Passwords are converting to passphrases now, XYZ. So it is going to be even more difficult for insurance companies to go and establish a product and let them know that there is something they need to secure. Because consumers will trust maybe a Android app or a phone app or XYZ telling them that your password is secured, your data is secured. Why will they need to buy insurance? So I think the productization has to pick up in terms of how you set it up.
So I believe that companies are going to be spending quite a lot of amount of money on prevention. So the number of CISOs in Indian companies are less than 2,000. I expect that to multiply in the next 3 years. Obviously, the demand for cyber insurance and the market of cyber insurance will also double in the next 3 years, safe to say. Plus, I feel that a lot of companies will also come up on the prevention stage, the risk prevention stage, and this is where I think we need to combine both insurance and the offerings on the prevention side to really give a combined offer to our clients.
I think going back to IRDA's vision of 2047 insurance for all, I believe cyber risk will be a very critical aspect of insurance, which will help close the protection gap and help us reach that stage of insurance for all. And I echo with what Mayank said. I think products in the next 3 years or even foreseeable a year or two is going to be a combination of, as we heard in the earlier session, health insurance is all going to be wellness focused, and then you talk about risk transfer. And here, I think cyber insurance is going to be all about not just awareness, it's going to be insurers working with providers to create that ecosystem of incidents response, breach attack simulation, helping them prevent, secure their network, and then, of course, in an unforeseen event of a breach or a cyber attack, have insurance protect them. So I think that is absolutely the way forward in terms of how cyber insurance can be sustainable.
I just take 10 seconds in this. I would just want to say that the way the car comes out from the showroom, on the distribution point of view, insurance is compulsory. Similarly, whenever the internet connection is given to anyone, I think cyber insurance would be given. Anybody opening an account of the bank, cyber insurance should be given. So anybody who is going on a social media, the cyber insurance should be given. Because end of the day, you can't stop going on all this and doing all these things. You have to do, because that's a life, but you have to secure with cyber insurance, and that kind of a small boxes of a big box which can be made. You can take a smaller box or you can take a bigger box which has got all small boxes of a cyber insurance. Thank you.
A box spelled as BOXX.
No, I think just to conclude, intuitively, I must say that this will be clearly the largest growing product segment by far. It is at the cusp. I think enough has been said from a lot of people across. A lot of people have witnessed it. I think the magic of the whole cyber infra and the ecosystem has to start playing out now, and it is bound to grow with players like Box, the other fraternity, I think, coming in together. Clearly, it's only going to grow exponentially. And I'm sure by the time we possibly meet for the next event, we will have a room full of everybody protected with cyber for sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks, audience, for sort of giving your time. And hopefully the session was useful and got you sort of thinking about, how players who are actually sort of, looking at insurance, protection, distribution, or payments, how are they thinking about cyber crimes? I think the next year, we'll have a lot more stories to tell. So thank you for being a great patient audience. And looking forward to seeing you next year and talking more about it. Thank you very much.